Welcome to the History Vault. Some doors were never meant to be opened. Around 9500 BC, on a bare hilltop in what is now southeastern Turkey, people who had never planted a single crop began to build. They dragged limestone pillars taller than a man across the ridge, stones that weighed as much as a small truck. They carved snarling foxes, scorpions, and vultures into the rock, and raised them in silent rings. Then, after more than 1,000 years, they did the strangest thing of all. They took the whole thing apart and buried it. Gobekli Tepe sits on a dry limestone ridge near the city of Sanliurfa, in southeastern Turkey. Its great enclosures were raised roughly between 9600 and 8200 BC, about 11,600 years ago. That is around 7,000 years before the Great Pyramid of Giza, and 6,000 years before Stonehenge. It comes before farming, before pottery, before metal, before the wheel, and before writing. Almost everything we assume a society needs to build a monument, these people did not yet have. Hold that timeline for a second. The pyramids feel impossibly old to us. This hill is older to the pyramids than the pyramids are to you and me. On the ridge stand rows of massive T-shaped limestone pillars. The tallest reach about 5.5 meters, roughly 18 feet, and weigh as much as 16 tons. They are set in great circular enclosures, arranged like silent assemblies of stone. Their surfaces crawl with carved wild animals, foxes, boars, snakes, scorpions, and long-necked cranes. Archaeologists have identified around 20 enclosures, and believe only about 5% of the site has been excavated. 5%. Almost everything on that hill is still under the ground. We are reading a single page and calling it the whole book. And that first page already breaks almost everything we thought we knew. Here is the part that should be impossible. The builders were hunter-gatherers of the Pre-Pottery Neolithic, not a settled farming state. They had no metal tools, no draft animals, and no cities to organize a large workforce. They had no farms, and no food surplus to feed a standing crew of laborers for years. For a century, the textbooks insisted monuments this size could not come before agriculture. This one did. So who moved 16-ton stones by hand? People who, on paper, owned almost nothing at all. No kings that we know of, no writing, no wheel. That single contradiction sits at the heart of the entire mystery. For a long time, the mound here was mistaken for a medieval cemetery, and mostly ignored. Then, in the mid-1990s, German archaeologist Klaus Schmidt looked at it more closely. He realized the hill itself was artificial, a rise packed with deliberately carved stone. He led the excavations from 1995 and gave the rest of his working life to that ridge. Schmidt died in 2014, before the full scale of what he had found came into view. He found the temple. He did not live long enough to see how far it stretched. Others are still digging up what he began. Look closely at the central pillars, and they stop being simple posts. Many of them carry carved arms that bend down their sides, with hands meeting over a carved belt. They are stylized figures, human or something like gods, standing upright in stone. Smaller pillars ring them, everyone turned inward, as if facing toward the center. It looks like a gathering frozen in a single moment, and held there for 11,000 years. Picture walking in on that. A crowd of stone, caught mid-ceremony, that never moved again. No houses nearby, no water on the hill, only the figures. Whatever happened up here, it was worth hauling mountains of rock to do it. Klaus Schmidt drew one bold conclusion from all of it. First came the temple, then came the city. His interpretation, and it is a theory, ran something like this. The need to gather and feed crowds for rituals may have pushed people to tame and cultivate wild cereals. If he was right, religion did not follow farming. Religion may have helped invent it. Many scholars still debate how religious or communal the site truly was, so treat this as an idea, not a proven fact. That is the sentence that rewrites the story. Maybe belief built the first great monuments. And the monuments, in their turn, gathered the first towns around them. Then came the discovery that changed everything. Gobekli Tepe was not alone. About 46 kilometers to the east lies a sister site called Karahan Tepe. It was first noticed back in 1997 by the archaeologist Bahattin Çelik. Today it is excavated under Nekmi Karul, revealing structures every bit as strange as its famous neighbor. and it turned out to be only one piece of something far larger across the region. Both sites belong to Turkey's Taştepeler project, the Stone Hills, launched in 2021. That project spans roughly a dozen related sites scattered across the same ancient landscape. This was never one freak monument standing alone on a hilltop. It was a whole lost world of them, hidden for 11,000 years beneath ordinary-looking hills. People had walked over these buried temples for centuries, without ever knowing what lay under their feet. Not one temple. A whole buried country of them. Most of it still hiding in plain sight, under the grass. And the strangest chambers were not built at all, they were carved into the rock itself. At Karahan Tepe, excavators opened a chamber cut straight down into the living rock. It is known as Structure AB, roughly 6 by 7 meters across. Inside stand 11 pillars, each about 2 meters tall. These were not built up from stacked blocks. They were carved downward, out of the bedrock itself. You enter through a window-like opening, with steps cut into the solid stone. And then there is the face. A human head with a beard rises out of one wall of the chamber. Its body stretches sideways from the neck, long and low along the rock, like a snake. It was carved so that it faces directly toward anyone who steps down inside. An 11,000-year-old face, staring at the door, waiting for visitors who stopped coming. Sit with that image for a moment. You climb down into the dark, and a stone face is already watching the entrance. It has been watching for 11,000 years. Karahan Tepe keeps surrendering firsts. Excavators recovered a strikingly realistic human statue about 2.3 meters tall, among the oldest ever found. Near it, they reported a carved stone vulture, announced to the world around 2023. These are not crude scratches on a cave wall. They are confident, deliberate works of sculpture. Someone at the dawn of settled life already knew exactly how to make stone look human. Real faces, real hands, real birds. Made by people we were told could barely organize themselves. They organized this. And they did it with nothing but stone tools, muscle, and belief. The diet evidence is just as telling. Analysis of bone and plant remains shows a menu of wild gazelle and wild legumes. They fed this enormous, years-long effort entirely by hunting and gathering. Not a single field was plowed to raise these stones. The food came from the hunt. Hundreds of people had to be fed on that hill, and the land alone somehow provided. Now comes the strangest chapter of all. Roughly 1,500 years after they rose, the Gobekli Tepe enclosures were buried. They were deliberately packed full of rubble, broken stone tools, and animal bone. This does not look like slow decay. It looks organized, intentional, and complete. The leading interpretation is a ritual closure, a formal burial of a sacred place once its purpose had ended. Read that again. They built humanity's first great temple. Then they entombed it, on purpose, and no one truly knows why. Hold on to the numbers here. Only about 5% of Gobekli Tepe has ever been excavated. The dozen or so Taştepeler sites have barely been scratched at all. Most of this entire culture is still down there in the dark, untouched and unread. We may have already found humanity's oldest temples, and we still cannot say what they worshipped, or why they walked away. We like to tell the story of civilization as a clean straight line. First we farmed, then we settled into villages. Then we built cities. Then we built temples to thank the gods for the harvest. Gobekli Tepe takes that neat, comfortable line and snaps it clean in half. Here the sacred came first, and the settled life seems to have followed it up the hill. Here the temple came first, raised by people who owned almost nothing. Then it was buried, quietly, by the very same hands that had built it. 95% of it is still down there, in the dark, waiting. Whatever these people believed was powerful enough to move 16-ton stones by hand. And in the end, powerful enough to make them bury it all. Subscribe to the History Vault, and stand with us at the edge of that hole. Because more of this story is still coming up out of the ground, one stone at a time. Some mysteries we may never solve. Subscribe to the History Vault, and we will open the next door together.